and welcome back to the From the Farmyard podcast, where we talk about all things homestead and farm related. This is episode 21. We have been doing this for almost a fourth of the year, which is
That's insane.
mind-boggling.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't feel like we've been doing it for that long, but 21 episodes? Jeez. Time flies.
Yeah, we're almost halfway through, well, a fourth of the way through the year.
Yep.
That is crazy, to say the least. But in today's episode 21, we've said that a couple of times. We're
It's just
going to be
letting
talking
them
about
really
composting.
know what episode it is. It's episode 21, y'all.
Exactly. We're going to be talking about composting and mulching. They are and aren't the same thing. Composting is a little bit different than mulching.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll go into all of that. Y'all will have a decent understanding by the time that we're done.
Yep.
So sit back, grab a pen and paper if you want to take notes, and we're here.
Oh, I like that. We should do that more. I like that. You need to add that in there more. We'll use that later. Okay. So first up, we have we're talking about mulching. So mulching is a fundamental part of gardening to plants looking beautiful and productive throughout the year. So just by mulching, you increase soil moisture, reduce weeds, improve crop quality, and feed the soil. And it makes your garden look nice.
We were talking earlier, and neither one of us really mulch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because there's not really what we're doing and where we are at. We don't have perennials where we're
growing.
It's more important with perennials than anything else, I guess. Mm-hmm. I have trees. You have trees.
Right.
Their leaves drop. I mean, for me, that's all that I think of is that's enough compost, or not compost, that's enough mulch for the year. And I'll pile leaves around, like when we're raking and things, mm-hmm. or when we're grassing things up, I'll pile leaves around them, but I'm not like gonna go out and buy a bag of cypress wood chips or whatever, and put down a whole bunch. Mulch is just easier for me for what I'm doing. But mm-hmm. I never mulch my beds just because I have to deal with that next year and I don't want to.
Yeah.
And that goes into a little bit with composting that I'll get into in a minute. But
right. Yeah. So today's episode is kind of not based off of our experiences when it comes to the mulching side of things. But I did get a lot of this information from an article, which I will link in the description. Really helpful article. Y'all can check it out. But a lot of that I have pulled and going to be discussing in today's episode. Just thought I'd throw that in there. But first would be, what is mulch? So at its simplest, mulch is any material that covers the soil's surface. In nature, mulch is simply fallen leaves and plant debris. In the garden, mulch can also include compost, wood chips, rotted manure, or even cardboard. And there's a lot of different varieties of mulch, which we will get into. But yeah, like mulch is just any material that covers the soil surface. So like we said, there's a lot of different types you can use as well. So,
and mulch, it's not really a short answer, but it's that, but it is something that will decompose over time. It's mm-hmm. not going to stay. Like if you buy a bag of wood chips from Lowe's or Home Depot or Tractor Supply, wherever, they're not going to stay in that perfect little shape that they're in or whatever. They're going to decompose. Right. If you're using something like rubber, like that you have at like schools, playgrounds, things mm-hmm. like that, that's going to take longer to decompose, or
it's an inorganic. It's an inorganic mulching material, which I saw that there's a difference. There's organic mulching materials and there's inorganic. Inorganic is like the rubber that you're talking about. It's not going to decompose like wood chips are, which is an organic material. So,
and all these things will decompose, and they will add so much life into the soil, because when you're doing the things like mulching or whatever, you're hoping that it will get down over time, it will decompose, and next year you'll add more compost, you'll add another layer of mulch. Each year you can do these different things and it'll just keep getting richer and richer and richer. And that's what I love about looking into and researching more about soil types and so many different things. There's so much, and adding like these my raised beds that I have behind me, all I did was put fabric down, and then I did poor soil, and then I went right into well, actually no, I did not do poor soil. I went right into compost, mushroom and leaf compost. And then I came back and I was like sifting up the beds, tilling down a little bit, moving everything around because I'm going to add more mushroom compost because it's higher in well, I'll get into that part, but there's more worms in that soil that I've seen in going through all of that. And when the worm castings, when the worms die, which is inevitable for the people who really like worms, they will die and their bodies will decompose with everything else. And it makes the soil so much richer. Like if you've seen things, rich soil is not a bland, little bit lighter or a little bit darker than sand. It is a dark brown, almost black. It looks so full of life because it is. But
and so like we said, there's a lot of different types of mulch you can put on top of your beds, around your plants, whatever you're doing with it. But what type of mulch should you use? I mean, it's really dependent upon what you like, what your preferences. Like we say all the time, these are from, well, this one isn't, but typically a lot of the stuff we talk about is from our experience. So, do your own research, whatever works for y'all. But typical types of mulch would be wood chips or pine bark, leaves, straw, grass clippings. These are all examples of beneficial mulch because they decompose and provide many more benefits to your soil.
And they'll hold. You can go. Sorry, I cut you off.
You're okay.
I'm happy about soil.
There are many options when it comes to mulches, like we said, whether you are going organic or inorganic, whatever works best for you. You can look up different types of mulches, and I'm sure you'll find what you're looking for.
Yes, and it will, when you're doing things, and if you're doing the method where you're doing compost and then you're mixing mulch on top, then you're mixing more compost year after year, and it's gonna keep going down because you're watering. It's using up whatever it's using down. It's compacting more. And that's why I go through my beds and I'll get all the way down to the bottom and I'll rotate everything. It is and isn't tilling, but basically it's tilling. But I'll go down and I'll get everything out because not get everything. I leave roots and everything like that. And I'll just sift all that out, or not sift it out. I'll turn it and get everything looking a little bit better. But you can use okay. Back to what I was saying with the piling, the compost mulch. When you do that, when the water goes through the first layer of compost, like in the spring, if you add another layer of compost, in the winter, you're going to add another layer of wood chips. In the spring and throughout the summer, when you're watering, the water will go through the compost and sit in the mulch that you had put down previously, and it will hold the moisture. So then so those roots are able to tap into that next layer of soil and absorb the moisture right from there. So you're holding moisture longer. And it can also, this is in our pros, I guess. This is what I'm going
go ahead.
to do.
You can go into the benefits. That's fine.
But you're doing it's helping retain water in that next layer. And then even from that, because it helps it from evaporating. I don't know where that was going, but it reduces weeds also. And it keeps your soil temperatures at a constant temperature, really, because at a constant temperature, whatever that temperature may be, it's going to keep it cooler in the summer, and it's going to keep it warmer in the summer because you're putting a layer of insulation in.
And that's that's all the benefits you went over, right?
I just did the pros, so if you want to do the cons, you
Okay.
can.
So here, there's a couple when it comes to mulch as well. There's a couple disadvantages. So one of which is too much mulch can bury and suffocate your plants. So whenever you add too much, which the correct amount, a decent amount, would be 2 to 3 inches of mulch. That's great. That's enough. Because if you do too much, water or oxygen cannot reach the roots. So be mindful of that. Too much mulch, it could. Don't overdo it.
Yeah, and think about it in terms of, this is an awful example, but it's the only one that really comes to my mind. If you are in a house and like the house collapses or something, and you're underneath a lot, like you're gonna suffocate and you're gonna die. That's just that. But an awful example, I know. But it's going to, I mean, you don't want that much stuff. I don't know where that was going. You can cut that out if you want to.
No, it's staying.
But it is an example. You don't want too much stuff on top of you because you're not able to get whatever. I mean, the best thing is getting rescued, but like that's the only thing that my mind could like really relate to it, and I don't know why. Reagan's going crazy over here.
I didn't know where you were going with that at first, and I didn't know. Okay.
I didn't know where I knew where I was going, and that's why I was a little hesitant. But it's the best thing that I got for y'all.
Next.
Absolutely. Let's keep moving.
Mulch your plant stems is the perfect place for slugs, snails, tunneling rodents, and more pests to reside. So to avoid that, you can sprinkle wood ash or diatomaceous earth around the base of your plants to keep the slugs and snails at bay. So just be mindful of that. Oh, missed one. Mulch can contribute to rotting bark if piled up around the trunks of trees and shrubs. So if this is more like we're talking gardening aspect, we're putting this around our vegetables, produce, stuff like that. But if you are like landscaping, like just know if you're planting shrubs or trees and stuff, do not they used an example as a volcanoing your plants. So stacking it up so high that it's just like wrapping around the base of the tree. Don't do that because that'll cause the wood to possibly rot, the bark. So keeping your mulch 6 to 12 inches away from the base of your woody plants would be advised if you do not want to deal with that.
Yeah, and when you're doing with that, it's also if you're putting it around the trees and or shrubs, whatever, and they start like actually decomposing where it's rotting the trunk or the stem, that's not good because it's going to ultimately kill your plant. You're not going to know what's happening. Yes, it is going to take a little bit of time, and assuming nothing moves it and it stays in the same place. So, I mean, it is a little bit more lenient, but don't go out and say, hey, I'm going to test this theory, and then you're losing out on a tree that you could have been so close to actually getting something from, or a shrub that was getting ready to bloom, whatever. Just stay safe. And no, Zachary, that's not what we're going to talk about. But keep things 6 to 12 inches away from your plant. I was going to say it's basically social distancing for your plant. I didn't want to go there, but it's basically social distancing for your plant.
I like that.
Because it is. I mean, you don't want things right up on you. Or if you like living away from people, kick those people away. Say bye. just saying. And then another one, I don't know if you saw or you were going to get to, but you can also bake it with too much heat. Like it can burn the roots. It is an actual thing.
So if you don't do it properly, and it could bake your plants with excess heat in the midsummer. But next is, how often should you mulch? So 1 annual mulching per year is sufficient. So once a year, that's good. Mulching is best done either just before or just after the growing season. Therefore, most of the times gardeners or property owners, whoever's doing it, they have it done in either spring or fall. But when should you mulch? Like, is there a specific time that would be best? And normally that would be mid to late spring would be the best time to put down mulch. Seedlings can work their way through a thin layer of mulch, but too deep a layer could be difficult to get through. So if you're planting seeds right outside, I mean, obviously, we've talked about this before with planting indoors and transplanting. If you have a bigger plant, you could probably mulch it better. But if you are just direct sowing seeds outside, do not put mulch over your plants because your seedlings are going to have a hard time getting over that big chunk of wood chip or whatever you're using as a mulching substance. So just being mindful of that.
And seedlings only have a certain amount of stored up energy until they have to start photosynthesizing. So when you're doing that, they're either going to get leggy, they're not going to have enough nutrients, and they're going to be weak the rest of their lives, really. Unless the soil's like super good and it's able to like regain that. But most of the time, it's not good.
So you can just being mindful of that. Do not do too thick of a layer of mulch around where your seedlings are. Let them get established first. You can always put mulch around the plants later.
Yeah. You can the analogy that I'm going to use is you can always, like, if you're going to get a haircut, you can get more hair taken off.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get that hair back.
But I think that's everything for mulching. Next, we'll go over composting real fast. There's not too much to it. It's just teaching y'all what composting is. And so.
Yeah. Do you want me to go into it, or?
Do you have written down what composting is? Or do you want me to say that? Or do you have it? I don't care.
You have the full definition. I abbreviated a lot.
Okay, I'll do what is composting and you'll do the ingredients. Okay.
Yes.
What is composting? So compost is the natural process of recycling organic matter, such as leaves and food scraps, into fertilizer that can enrich your soil and benefit your plants. So what does it take to make compost?
Composting needs 4 things. That's just 4 things. You might think that it would need more. It just needs 4. It needs green material, brown material, water, and air.
Mm-hmm.
And we will go into the green and brown material. Those who are saying, what's green and brown material? We're going to go into that.
Right. I asked that question once too, but we're going to give you the answer. What is green and brown material? Let's break it down for him. So,
composting joke.
Is it composting joke? You're such
Y'all
nerds.
know we're funny. Y'all know we're funny.
All right. I'll go over green material. You do brown material. So,
okay.
Green materials include items that are high in nitrogen, such as kitchen scraps, grass clippings, coffee grains, and manure. A lot of manure can be green material because it's high in nitrogen. So
yeah, I'm going to say any, but I'm going to contradict myself in just a minute. Any manure can be composted, with the exceptions of like dog poop and cat poop. You don't do that, and no. you never do that at all.
That's gross.
Exactly. But I mean, everything else is gross too, but it makes sense.
This is very true. It
really does all make sense. But with brown materials, we'll just go right into the other one. Brown materials are anything that are high in carbon, which sawdust, dried leaves, sticks, branches, anything that's not too big, that's not going to take too long to decompose. So preferably sticks, twigs, things like that, that are already dried out and don't have a lot of life in them. And also hay or straw. Either one will work. It's not too picky, and you don't have to use all of these.
Right.
You can do just from the green material, you can do just grass clippings and chicken manure.
Yep.
From the brown, or you can just do chicken manure, or from the
whatever you have on hand. We've talked about this before. If you have it on hand and you can just throw it in a compost pile, use it. Yeah. You just dump it out and mix it once in a while, water it, whatever, mix it up, and over time, all you have to do is just leave it sit there, forget about it, come back and be like, man, that's, what is it? What did they call it? Is it like black? Is it black gold? Is it like the gardener's black gold? I think that's what they call it.
Yeah, it's the gardener's black gold.
Literally what it is. Because you come back and it's like, man, it may stink a little bit, but you know what? To a gardener, that's a good smell. You take that and you mix it in with your soil. Oh my gosh.
It is not a good smell. What I don't, stuff that I get from, and I've talked about this in the past couple episodes, I get mine from a place that's like 20 minutes from us. And the mushroom compost, I thought it was like decomposed mushrooms because that's what it sounds like.
Right.
It's not. It's majority horse poop, and that stuff smells
yummy.
No, it smells quite bad. I'm not gonna lie.
The mushroom? You don't like the smell?
It's horse poop. I mean, let it sit for a little bit. Okay,
my nose must be whack then, because I thought it was rather not like a good smell, but like it wasn't bad.
Yes, I mean it's not bad. Like sometimes it smelled good, sometimes it smelled worse than other. I think it was with like the water, the amount of water, whatever. But
good old.
I personally didn't like it, especially when it smelled like really, really bad. But I am hopefully going to get compost this weekend. This video, we have no clue when this is going up as of right this minute. But we will. This
will go out like 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. We record ahead of time, people. We're just on it like that. That's the way we roll.
But what we will do is we'll post this one, and then because we're doing the Tuesday posting a different video if we have them.
Tuesday uploads are once in a while.
Yeah, it's not every week. But what we'll do is we'll put this video out on a Saturday, and then the next Tuesday we'll put out the composting video of me getting my compost, what I'm doing with it, things like that.
That way, so they're easier to find.
Yeah,
makes sense. Easier to follow. Yeah. Exactly.
But some other things that I have written down are well, I think you also had this, but over time compost is, well, this really for mulch and compost. It's over time it will create a healthy, nutritious, fertile garden soil.
Yep. Which
is every gardener's dream.
Right, and it'll benefit your plants. So, like we say, whatever works for you. If you have stuff that you can make compost, get out there, make some compost. It'll do your plants a lot of good. And if you have the ability to get mulch, cut your grass, bag it. That's mulch right there. That can be used as compost material as well. So, it's using what you have, really thinking about it, and planning out what you're going to do with it in your garden space.
And what I just thought of, I know I have 2 more points. Well, let me go into that, and then I'll go into the other thing. If you, I'm going to be adding it to different beds, adding more depending on, corn is a heavy feeder. So I'll put more in my corn beds. Tomatoes, heavy feeders, I'll mix in more of that. And then I'll rotate some things around, like the dirt that I've used the past year, 2 years, whatever. I'll put those in buckets to grow roots. I am going to say this. We might clip this. I'm not sure yet. But potatoes and roots don't like fresh compost. They just don't, because the compost is high in nitrogen, and that increases leaf growth. Leaf growth is not what you want on roots. You want root development. So using something that's a year or more, that's a year or more, I don't want to say older, but that's what it is. A year or two that it's not fresh. Use that before anything else.
A little bit of compost that's a little bit more cooled down.
Yeah.
Because compost is hot. Compost is hot. If you did it right, compost is stinking steamy. Like if it's a warm day and you flip that, oh my word, that sucker's steamy. So giving it to, and that's the nitrogen levels that are just so high inside of your compost. It just really shows if your compost is steaming, you did something right. You did something right.
And then you said bag up grass from your yard. Use that.
Yeah.
If you have trees, go out, rake up leaves, use those as compost. But if you mulch, but if you really want mulch, you want to go out and buy something, or you want something on your soil, but you don't have the money to go out and buy mulch. Go ask a neighbor if you can rake their yard. That is a 2-for-1 deal right there. Right. You're raking somebody's yard. You're getting their leaves. Whatever leaves you don't use to compost or to mulch, compost them. If you want to do compost. If you don't, ask somebody else who gardens if they want the stuff for their garden, because they might compost. Right. They might want to mulch their own garden and they don't have the money. Do things like that. There are so many different ways that you can get so creative, and we've said this a few times, just get creative with it.
Yeah. Use what you have. Figure out what works best for you. But I think we covered everything. Do you want to outro this?
Yes, I'll outro this. Thank you all for watching episode 21 of Composting and Mulching. And yeah, it's been a good one. Hopefully this helps you guys. This is coming out a little bit later than most people are maybe getting mulch or compost, but better late than never. And we're doing it for our northern gardeners who, like you won't be able to plant until well after this video comes out.
Exactly. We're doing it for y'all.
Exactly. I'm still with my southern friends though. We like the warmth a little bit more than y'all.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, how much longer do we have? Do you know? I want to say one more thing. I know we said that we were outroing.
Like 6 minutes.
Okay. This is one thing before I truly outro this. Jessica from Roots and Refuge. We've mentioned her before. She's a well-known gardener. She's putting it as, and this is the excellent way to put it, you are feeding the soil, you're not feeding the plants. So don't go in there thinking that you're feeding the plants, because that's not the right mindset. But if you're going to go in there and you're feeding the soil, your soil is going to grow things for years and years and years, where that plant's going to grow things for 1 year. If it's a vegetable, things like that.
Right.
You're not going to be using that same plant over and over and over and over again. The soil, feed the soil. You make sure there's worms, worm castings. You do the things that we talked about today. The compost, the mulch, the compost mulch, back and forth. And truly build something that you can plant in every single year. And you know that whatever happens, if a seed didn't come up, it's not because the soil was poor. Or if a seed died, or if a plant died, it's not because the soil was poor. It was because of an outside factor that you yourself just couldn't control. And also take your losses in stride with all of this. You don't, every plant's not going to live. I mean, if you can get every plant to live, kudos to you. But if you can't, it's fine. Plant more. You will have more chances. Gardening is an every year thing. But yeah, I'm ready to outro this truly now. We're ready.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching again. And this concludes episode 21 of Composting and Mulch. We will see you guys in the next one. Have an excellent week.
See you guys in the next episode.